If you are visiting Canyonlands National Park, you have come to the right place. Because today I am so excited to share with you 5 tips that you need to know before visiting Canyonlands. My name is Ash. I'm a former park ranger and the founder of Dirt in My Shoes. I'm also a Utah native, and so you will find me in the Utah parks all the time. You can't keep me away. So I have been to Canyonlands many times. It's one of our family's favorite Utah parks, so we are there quite frequently. It's just a beautiful, wild, rugged place, and I love it. So I'm really excited to share 5 tips that you need to know before you go to Canyonlands. These 5 things will help set you up for a really great trip in this beautiful national park. Let's just jump right in because we have a ton of ground to cover. Literally. This park is huge. It's the biggest Utah National Park. And so tip number 1 is to know where you want to go when visiting Canyonlands. That might seem kind of obvious. Obviously, wherever you go, you're going to want to know where you want to go. But with Canyonlands, it makes a huge difference because what a lot of people don't realize is that Canyonlands National Park is actually broken up into 3 distinct districts, and these districts cannot be accessed from one another. They're separated by rivers, and so you can't drive between the districts very easily. You'll have to kind of pick your spot and explore that spot because everything is just so spread out and it takes a long time to get from place to place. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. This is Canyonlands National Park, and you've got these 2 rivers, the Green River and the Colorado River, going right straight through the park. So you can see it is very unique. And these 3 different districts that I'm talking about, up here you've got Island in the Sky. This one is a raised mesa, so you're on top of the mesa looking down at the rivers, and there's a good amount of stuff to do here. Overlooks, trails, paved roads. There is some water and toilets, stuff like that, so that's important. And then you've got down here, you've got the Needles section. So this one is actually, it's lower. You're not up on the mesa top. You're a little bit further removed from things. As you can see, there are some roads, but not many. The road that's going to get you to the main hiking area for the Needles is dirt. And you do have a visitor center down here. You have a campground, stuff like that, but not much by way of amenities. So you are further from a town when you're in the Needles than you are when you're in the Island in the Sky. Island in the Sky is closer to Moab, and so it's a little bit easier to get down into town for things that you need. So our 3rd district is the Maze. Now, as you take a look at this one, you'll see there are no paved roads. There's nothing. These are all roads that are dirt and very hard to drive, and you need to have a lot of experience. You're in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing out here except beautiful views. There's a few primitive campsites, but not much. And so the Maze, for that reason, I'm not even really going to touch on that in any of my information because most people should not be going here. This is for people who are very experienced in the backcountry and very experienced on really rough roads. So that's probably not you. It's not most of us. And so we're going to kind of bypass this one and focus more on the Island in the Sky and the Needles. Okay, so then that leads me right into tip number 2, which is to plan at least 1 day per district that you want to visit when going to Canyonlands. As I showed you on the map, everything's pretty spread apart and it's all, bisected by rivers. You can't get from one to the other very easily. And so it really does make more sense to give yourself a day in each district that you're hoping to visit. So if you want to see both the Island in the Sky and the Needles district, I would plan 2 full days for this park so that you can focus on 1 day per district. If you only have 1 day for Canyonlands and you're not able to get to both districts, most people focus on Island in the Sky first. That one, as I mentioned, it's closer to Moab, it's closer to Arches National Park. It does have a few more amenities. I wouldn't really say amenities, there's not much out there, but there are more paved roads, more trails, more overlooks for those that just, aren't maybe super comfortable heading on a dirt road or hiking a longer trail. I don't recommend trying to see both districts of Canyonlands in one day. It is just so much driving. They're like 2.5 hours apart. And so it's just, your whole day would be driving. You wouldn't really have time to do any hiking or anything. And so that's why I say one day per makes the most sense to me. That's what we always do. And that's how I like to do it so that I have enough time to really dig into each district separately. What's awesome is I do have a Canyonlands itinerary on Dirt in My Shoes that I will link below this video, but this itinerary will take you to both districts. And so I can help you. If you only have one day, I'll show you what to do in Island in the Sky. If you can add a second day, then I will show you how I like to experience the Needles. I love both sections of the park. They're both extremely different, but beautiful. And there's just a lot of cool things you can do in Canyonlands and a lot of things that people don't even know are there. So that's what this itinerary helps you out with. It helps you with the crowding. It helps you with the parking. It helps show you where to go, when to be where, so that you can have a great Canyonlands vacation. Tip number 3 is to embrace the ruggedness and the spirit of adventure that you'll find in this park. So sometimes people get to Canyonlands and they're like, so there's no flush toilets, what's up with that? Or there's no restaurants, there's no lodges, what's up with that? I don't like this. I want more amenities. And I think really the cool thing about Canyonlands is that when you get in here and you're out exploring, you can feel how wild it is. You can feel how raw it is. And there's so many big adventures that you can have in this park if you're willing to go just like one extra step, do a little bit more planning, do a little bit more out of your comfort zone. And so there's just some really cool things you can do to embrace what I think is the true spirit of Canyonlands, which is that spirit of adventure. So maybe as a first-time visitor, you want to stick to the roads and the established trails, and that's great. That's what we did for a lot of years going to Canyonlands. But as we started to get a little more comfortable with this park, that's when we started doing some extra things like jeeping on the White Rim Road, which is really cool. I have a whole guide for that if you want to try it out. Even as a first-time visitor, it's doable. So I will link that below the video. But the White Rim Road in Island in the Sky is amazing. It's a crazy drive through some amazing scenery. Or perhaps you want to do a longer trail like to Druid Arch or Chesler Park in the Needles. Those are some of my favorite hiking trails in any national park, and you'll find them here in Canyonlands. Or maybe you want to take it even a step further and you want to raft the river. You can raft the rivers that go through this park, and that's a huge adventure. So embrace that spirit of adventure and try something new while you're here. I've already kind of alluded to tip number 4, but tip number 4 is to bring what you need while you're there. Bring what you need for the day because there are very few amenities in this national park. So again, embracing that spirit of adventure, you will not find lodges in Canyonlands. You won't find any dining options in Canyonlands. There's barely water. You'll find drinking water at the visitor centers if they're open. Sometimes that closes down seasonally. And typically what you're going to be using as far as restrooms are pit toilets. Pretty much no flush toilets, except again, sometimes at the visitor centers you can find them. But as you're out exploring, you are just kind of on your own. And so you need to bring the food that you need for the day. We always keep extra water in our vehicle when we're out in the national parks. But it's especially crucial in this national park to do that because you're not going to find water fill stations as you're out exploring. The visitor centers are kind of at the beginning of when you come into the park, and then you spread out to the other places. So bring extra water, bring extra food, bring what you need for the day because you really won't be able to get it in Canyonlands. And tip number 5 is don't bust the crust. So, what's cool about hiking in the desert and canyonlands or arches specifically is that you'll find what's called a cryptobiotic soil or a crust. And this is actually a living crust that is made up of organisms that hold the soil in place here in the desert. And it soaks up water better for the plants, it keeps things from eroding. It's critical in this desert landscape. And so, why I say don't bust the crust, and this is something that a lot of people just don't even realize because you don't probably have this at home, is to make sure that you're staying on the trail when you're hiking in these fragile desert landscapes. It's really important in Canyonlands that you're staying on the trail, that you're not going off trail, because when you go off trail, you are damaging resources like this cryptobiotic soil that help the plants and animals thrive in this region. So just keep that in mind as you're hiking throughout the desert. There's going to be some things that you might not be familiar with, like the crust or like cairns, which are stacks of rocks that we use out here for navigation. Those cairns are actually critical to hikers who are trying to hike around the desert landscape, where a lot of times they're hiking on rock and not a dirt trail. And so we need those to be able to tell where to go. A lot of people use cairns or these stacks of rocks for fun other places, but here in the desert, it's a life or death situation that those cairns lead us to the right place and keep us on the trail we're hiking. So please don't build your own. Please don't knock them down. Please don't go off trail and walk on the crust. Use this experience as a learning experience for you and your family to see what it's like in these desert landscapes and how we better take care of them. All right, my friend, I cannot wait for you to get to Canyonlands, and these 5 tips are very helpful for getting you started. But if you need actual trip planning help, where to stay, what to do, when to be there, all of that, be sure to head over to dirtandmyshoes.com. You can get a Canyonlands itinerary. You can get some articles and podcast episodes that will help you with your trip planning. And if you found this video helpful, please subscribe because I have even more Canyonlands content here and on the way. I can't wait for you to visit Canyonlands, and I hope that you have a big adventure while you're there.